Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, but that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our running lives. And remember, my friend, future shoes such as these will be on your feet in the future. This is why you are here, my friends. Jokes aside, Plan 9, great film. Eddbud here. Today I'm looking at some future shoe releases in the latter part of 2024. I got 3 real bangers for you. Let's get straight into it. I got some really interesting shoe leaks to look at today, some future shoes that we might be wearing later in the year. Finally got some new info on the Adios Pro 4 with a major redesign for the marathon model from the 3-stripe brand. Also some better images of the Nike Streakfly 2 and a brand new Mizuno to speculate on. Let's dive into those marshmallows, my friends. So first up, looking at the Adios Pro 4, this looks set to release a little bit later this year and it's quite a drastic redesign. Always hard to judge from the foam usage in a shoe by a picture, but I think we might have something a little more maverick from ADIDAS this time round for the 4th iteration of the Adios Pro. The midsole does certainly seem to be a little bit segmented here. I reckon they might use 2 different foams. I'd be absolutely amazed if it's all Light Strike Pro. I reckon there could be something else in there. A little hint, a little dash of something else. I reckon there could be like a softer foam on top of the energy rods and then perhaps Light Strike Pro underneath. We know it's durable. We know it will take the strain. If they're going to implement some of their other newer foams, such as the ones we've seen in the Pro Evo 1, or perhaps even the Prime X2 Strung, that energy core section there, I reckon it could be directly below the foot, just provide a bit more of an additional responsive type squash. Perhaps in a bid to make the Adios Pro a little bit more exciting, a little bit more enjoyable directly out the box. I always felt that Light Strike Pro itself was good when you sort of tenderized it a little bit. You know, 40, 50 miles, it starts to really come into its own. But some people are a little bit perturbed by that when they take a shoe out of the box and it's not everything they've ever wanted instantly. Perhaps Adidas are going to try to get somewhere towards that with the new Adios Pro 4. We've got a very aggressive rocker in the forefoot there, and I'm not talking about Angus Young, though the heel area doesn't look quite as beveled perhaps as some of the recent Adidas models. The uppers featuring like a grid system here, hints of the Pro Evo 1 perhaps, and a more traditional lacing setup than we've seen previously. No more of those tiny little lace loops. I think people either loved them or they absolutely hated them. A bit Marmite. Perhaps Adidas looking to minimise the weight here and bring the Adios Pro more in line with some of the mega light options like the Vaporfly 3 or the recently released Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. Those are like much closer to 200 grams for me in my UK 11. The heel area itself in terms of the upper looks the same as the Pro 3 with that slingback overlay and the thinner counter of the back of the shoe. The tongue looks quite similar in design to the one used on the Hoka Rocket X2, perhaps some longer cutouts there to help minimise movement or slip down towards the toe box from the tongue. Laces appear to be the thinner variety that Adidas always use on those race shoes. You'll either like those or not. I have found that you need the dexterity of a seasoned seamstress to actually tie them up sometimes though, especially when the old fingers are a bit chilly. Saying that, I had a real problem getting the laces untied on the Cloud Boom Echo 3 from On earlier on today. It was a bit cold out there and I just couldn't untie them. I was going to stop a passerby to see if they could help me. I managed to do it in the end though. Persistence, if you want to be a record breaker. Outsole wise, it's a very different setup this time round. More ridges. Only a small slither of Continental up front perhaps. And a familiar flat section there at the back of the heel on the medial side as per the last few versions. The texture on the Light Strike Pro does look a little bit different there if you look at the outsole section on the lateral side. Those exposed areas, it does look a little bit different in terms of the texture. Maybe they've done that to help stick stuff to it. Overall, it's quite the update really, isn't it? You have to say. It ties in with the Adidas policy over recent years of more drastic updates with their top level models. What do you reckon about the Adios Pro 4? If you're a big fan of the 3 or perhaps some of the others, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Moving on now, we got to talk about the Streakfly 2 from Nike. Now, the Streakfly, bit of a weird one. The original was very compressive, perhaps overly compressive for some people. Only that small shank in the midsole there, around the arch sort of area to provide any sort of rigidity. This time it appears the Streakfly is going to feature a full plate, or at least a 3/4 plate, a midsole profile much closer to something resembling a lower stack Vaporfly 3, but with some design nods there of the Alphafly 3 as well. Certainly towards the back section of the midsole, kind of protrudes out there. I like that word. We appear to retain the lace loops of the original Streakfly release and those super thin laces and a very thin mesh upper. Now, the original remains one of Nike's lightest shoes that they currently sell. This one perhaps a touch heavier. There's a little bit more tech in there. Integration of the plate. I mean, even carbon weighs a little bit, right? Again, as per the Vaporfly 3, the way the shoe sits back in the heel when placed on a flat surface is there. Almost looks like you've got a negative drop. I've always thought that about the Vaporfly 3. Look at this one, you see. It almost looks like you got more foam in the forefoot. It's like a negative drop situation. It's very odd. There's definitely more stack, though, in the proposed Streakfly 2 release than the previous one. And there's a lot more rubber underfoot by all accounts as well. So I reckon people won't mind the shoe being a little bit heavier, as long as they're getting a bit more durability and longevity from it, and perhaps a little bit more propulsion and pop from the plate. The rubber and outsole really wasn't all that durable on the Streakfly. I got bits of glass, thorns and all sorts stuck in there, even a screw at one point. Though from the outsole it does appear there are considerable cutouts there going the full length of the shoe almost. Obviously there it's a bit to relieve some of the weight, although the foam's probably one of the lightest elements. The more I look at this shoe, the more and more it looks like a Dragonfly track spike for the road, and many people are going to be interested by that model. I think with ASICS making one of the lightest super shoes ever with the Metaspeed Sky Paris, aside from the Adidas Pro Evo 1 of course, the swoosher clearly trying to pull a little bit closer with the leaders now. Been resting on their laurels for a little bit. Hopefully the Streakfly 2 will bring them back in line. Wonder when this one might surface. We just don't know. Okay, got one more for you today, and it's from Mizuno. Here is the Mizuno Neo Vista. Hopefully it's got nothing to do whatsoever with Microsoft Vista. This is one crazy shoe, almost like a boot design here. I mean, who on earth's going to wear something like this for a road race? Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Very similar to that On shoe, actually, when you think about it. The Neo Vista has quite a significant stack, apparently 44.4mm in the heel for the sample size, and 36.5 up front. I mean, that's very, very exact, isn't it? They're down to, 0.4 now rather than 0.5. It's going to make all the difference, people, I'm telling you now. Potentially a Super Blast competitor? What is this shoe? Something with serious stack, but perhaps the lightness of a shoe like between a racer and a trainer. An 8mm drop is no doubt going to attract a few, as well as the very weight-relieved outsole area, again, similar to that Streakfly. A channel cut right the way through the middle of the shoe. You can even see it at the back there in the heel. Mizuno don't seem to pump loads of money into advertising here in the UK, and you don't really see that many people wearing Mizuno running shoes around. In fact, I'm the only one I've seen recently. They seem to focus on Asia and Europe, and it's seldom that we see too many rocking a Mizuno one. The few I've tried, I've got to be honest, have been really good, actually. I'm very glad that viewer of the channel, Stefan, sent over some info on the Mizuno for me. Thank you, Stefan. It's much appreciated. Dankeschön. I think this model is going to land in June over in Japan by all accounts. With some translation from the Mizuno website, they do seem to exactly describe what I just said about the fact it could be between like a racer and a trainer, with lots of people opting for like super shoes to do their regular training because it stops them from getting injured. The foam here is Mizuno Enerzy Next, which has both cushion and rebound apparently, which is certainly music to my ears. The upper seems more knit-like than a mesh, and I love that fluorescent yellow version. You could get like a fluorescent high-vis jacket, like cut it down, make a vest, maybe get some trousers and cut the legs off so you got some shorts. Oh, I could rock that. I could get away with that. People would be able to see you coming from miles away. Probably be able to see you from like planes that are going above. There's a $180 price quoted on the US Mizuno site for this one, and a pre-order starting on May the 17th. Now they quote the weight as being a little bit more than the Super Blast from ASICS, 9.4 ounces or 266 grams for the sample size, so ultimately it's going to come in a little bit heavier than that one. The sample size for the Super Blast is 8.4 ounces or 239 grams, so it's a touch lighter than this Mizuno. Now, I'm still always intrigued when a company release a new shoe that's got a new foam compound in it. It's always exciting to try those out. Perhaps this foam might find its way into the Rebellion series at some point, so they can bring that massive stack down in weight even more. Mizuno always one to watch, and producing something that's a little bit different and against the grain. I like it. What do you think about these 3 shoes, people? Let me know your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments. The running shoe market looking very inspiring this year. We've had loads of great releases already, and we've only had like 4 months or something. Alphafly 3, we've had the Metaspeed Sky Paris, we've had the Celo X1, Puma Faststar Nitro Elite 2, and the Endorphin Pro 4 from Saucony as well. Absolute bangers so far. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Musical interlude for you. I can remember a period in my life when I was a younger man, really struggling with mental health issues. Really felt quite lonely, I suppose. Didn't really know where I was going or what I was doing. And I think that sometimes when you don't have that hope there, that can be really challenging time for young people, and these days it seems like it's even worse. There is a song that really helped me through all of that, though. It was a song by Suede, in fact, from their album Dogman Star. It's a wonderful song called The Still Life. Now, I remember reading that Bernard Butler wasn't too happy about the way the track turned out, but I still think it's a bit of a masterpiece. It's a wonderful song. It's got the perfect balance between this kind of despair and hope that you want to hear in a song. It's quite cinematic, I suppose. Beautiful strings in there and some amazing acoustic guitar playing from Bernard Butler. Really love the vocal delivery from Brett Anderson as well. It kind of gets more characterful and he puts more and more effort into it as the song goes on. There's some absolutely fantastic crescendos as well in this one. Almost sounds like a track from a film or something, perhaps the end scene of a film. Always been quite amazed that Brett Anderson isn't more well known for his singing and his range. The emotion that he puts into some of the songs is just brilliant. What's quite cool, did get to meet him a few years back when he was signing one of his books. He was doing a talk about them in the local theatre, and he seemed like a super cool guy. So it's kind of shame that they didn't really do some more tracks together. I know Bernard and Brett did get back together for an album called The Tears, or Here Come the Tears, and that was great as well, full of wonderful songs. So maybe, you know, one day they might do a bit more together. That would be really cool. Go and check this one out, though, from Suede's second album, Dogman Star. It's called The Still Life. It is absolutely beautiful. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. We've hit 50k, now we're going for 100. And I mean actual proper subscribers as well, not just bots. You know what I'm talking about. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. Comment below as well to help out with the algorithm. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you